In this video, I'm going to go over a little application I built that sends out invite emails to my SQL Answers Skool community, and it uses a Airtable database, which is what you're looking at here, as well as an n8n automation. So we're going to start out by looking at the Airtable database. So right here, we're gonna look at the existing database. I'm gonna show you how it was created as well. So all it's really got is a URL, which is basically where the email was scraped from. Sometimes I have it, sometimes I don't. We've got an insert date when this data row was inserted. I've got a column here that called sent email that tracks whether or not I've already sent the email out to this individual, and then an ID column. And of course, you've got the email address. So now let's go out and create a base, and so you can see exactly how this gets created. So we just click the create, build your own app. And so I've got a untitled database. This is an Airtable database which contains tables. So that's what these tabs are. First thing I'm going to do is rename this. So I'm going to call it my base in this case. And now what they do is each table has default columns. I don't really like this, but that's just kind of how it works. So I'm going to rename my table as well to leads, like we saw in the other example. And now I'm going to edit these columns. So they always create a primary key column named name. So in our case, we're going to use ID, and I like to use a primary key number auto-generated. So I'm going to edit the field. I'm going to rename the primary key to ID, and then I'm going to pick a primary key generated number for the type, auto number. Then I'm going to change this to a URL, and Airtable has a specific data type for URL, so it really is just a string, but then they validate the data so that it meets the criteria of a URL. So it basically rejects it if it's not a URL. I'm going to edit this. I'm going to make this insert date. And this is going to be a date column. And it's going to be defaulted to the current date. So whenever anything gets inserted, it'll have that. We're going to change this to our sent email, which is just a checkbox column that tells us whether or not the email has been sent. And then, of course, we're going to have the email column. And Airtable, again, has a specific data type for email. So it validates that it's a string, and then it validates whether it's got the format of like a name at a domain. And I'm just going to remove this field because I don't need it. So there we've got our Airtable database with a few columns in them. ID, then we got the URL, that's the URL type, the insert date, that's a date type that's defaulted to the current date, sent email, that's going to determine whether or not the email has been sent to this individual, and then the email address itself. All right, now I'm flipping over to the n8n workflow. I actually implemented this first in make.com, but this particular scenario in make was eating up a ton of credits. And I remembered that I had n8n installed locally. So I can run this flow that's collecting it. Basically what it does is it scrapes emails from web pages using Apify. And then it takes those, parses them out, looks for email addresses, and then puts them into an Airtable database, which in our case is going to be that table we were just looking at. So let's dig into this scenario here, or the workflow as they call it in n8n. So I'm not going to really dig too much into the details here, but this is the Apify. It's basically doing a Google search, searching for .edu, student organizations. I gave it a state in this case, and it's looking for SQL, data science, or computer science. And so this is just the get results. Is just how the Apify module works. You first do your search, and then you get the results and put them into a array. And then you iterate over that array. And then this is searching that for that URL, but basically pulling that URL out of the array. Again, passing that on. And then it's going to go through each one of the URLs that it finds on the page. So I don't know if we caught it, but when we first brought up that search, we passed in results per page 100, max pages per query 10. So it's going to go and grab up to 1,000 entries. That's why it was so expensive. And now we're going to go and try and open each of those web pages that we're iterating over. And this is what does our search. So I didn't actually write this. I just kind of had ChatGPT write it for me. And so I asked for an n8n function that's going to go and decode HTML pages and look for email address. And this is what it gave me. And I tested it out a couple of times. After a couple of go-arounds with it, I got this that was working pretty well for me. Now we're going to iterate over all those emails that are on the page. And so this is just looking for cases where they match a specific format, because I was getting some garbage data that was giving me non-email addresses. So I'm looking for those extensions on the emails. And this filter is just looking to make sure that it's valid. So that's what that was doing. And then here's what Airtable ties in. So now we're calling Airtable, which is a module that is available in n8n. And so it's calling the upsert record. And so I'm telling it, in this case, to use the SQL Answers base. So before this, I had to actually authenticate and create a Airtable connection from n8n. So that's what this connection is doing. I'm asking it to use the resource record and do a create or update. That's what an upsert does. It's going to either create a record or insert a new one. And then it's going to look at the leads table in that base, mapping each column manually. And what am I matching on? I'm matching on the email. So I don't want to insert the same email more than once. And so that's what this is doing for me. Otherwise, I could go through, maybe I'd have multiple pages that have same email address, but I don't want to add the same email address twice to my base. And so that's why I have that there. And that's it. So this puts all of those emails that have been scraped into that Airtable database. And so I have another scenario that goes through that Airtable database, and it will send emails out. So it formats a nice email, sends them out to all the emails that are in the list, and then when it's done, it updates the records to say that they have been sent to. And so that allows me to not send emails over and over to the same individuals. So that's all I've got for now. We can go over the other scenario in another video if you want, but that was the question that I had, and I wanted to get that taken care of. So if you guys have any questions with respect to this, let me know. Thanks. Bye.